Hi guys! So this is our second activation for spiritual growth and giftings, and I thought this time I would do a video activation rather than writing it out, typing it out and posting it up. So today's activation is to do with speaking less and listening more. I know it's something that we probably all struggle with, or maybe we think we're doing okay, but it's something we can always improve more on. And I think now with everything that's happening around the world, it's a great time to improve our listening skills and connect with each other even more. A lot of us are limited at the moment to just video calling each other, phone calling, texting, and my whole country is in lockdown at the moment, so I can't actually have contact with people in person, but we can still connect through those calls. Those of you who are with family, you can connect with your own family in person. And there are some really amazing verses in Proverbs about the importance of speaking less and listening more, which I've been looking at. And I always find reading Proverbs really convicting, every time I read it. So I'll just read out a few of those verses, and then I'll look at some more practical things that can help us. The first verse I'm looking at is, "Those who guard their mouths and their tongues keep themselves from calamity." So that's Proverbs 21 verse 23. Pretty strong words. I mean, all the words in Proverbs are pretty strong words if you've ever read Proverbs. And so those who guard their mouths and their tongues keep themselves from calamity. It's pretty important. It shows the importance of guarding our mouths. Next verse, "A person finds joy in giving an apt reply, and how good is a timely word." That's Proverbs 15 verse 23. So that speaks of when we do wait for the right timing, when we're not just like spilling out verbal diarrhea everywhere, and we wait for the right timing, then it brings joy probably to us and to other people as well. We bring a word at the right time. It's just such a beautiful thing. Next verse, "Starting a quarrel is like breaching a dam." So drop the matter before a dispute breaks out. So maybe every time you feel yourself getting towards that starting a fight sort of a mode, just picture a dam full of water and the water is about to break. And that is how powerful it is when we use our words in a negative way too, to start an argument or start a fight. So Proverbs is pretty clear. Drop the matter before a dispute breaks out. And then the next verse, last one I want to look at, is, "To answer before listening, that is folly and shame." Ouch. This one gets me because I do this sometimes, answering people, putting in my 2 cents before I finish listening to them, before they've finished speaking. So that verse again was, "To answer before listening, that is folly and shame." So it's kind of saying it's foolish and even a shame if we're not listening properly, waiting to hear the end of what someone's saying before we have an answer, because we might get the wrong end of the stick. We might misunderstand what they're trying to say, or we might make them feel like we're not really listening and therefore we don't really care. So some practical ideas. I just thought of some questions that we can ask each other that are going to prompt like more in-depth conversation, not just surface level conversation, so that we can practice our listening skills. I mean, the first one that we all ask each other, "How are you?" Whenever we see each other or first ring someone, "How are you?" This question is a greeting in my mind. It's a polite greeting in English. It is not a question that's going to bring a lot of openness usually. Most people would answer "How are you?" with "Good, fine, great, doing okay, getting there," right? We have our stock answers. So this one is good to start a conversation, good as an icebreaker, but throw it out the window if you actually want to get to know people better and listen to them. So other questions that we can ask that would be better would be, "How are you feeling today?" So people can't answer that just with a yes or a no. They have to if they're willing, think of how they're feeling and actually open up a little bit, even if it's just to say, not so good or good. What are your thoughts is another good question. So this can get people to open up about whether they're feeling, whether their thoughts are going towards anxiety, whether their thoughts are happy thoughts, whatever the case may be. Another question, what did you do today? It might seem simple, but it's amazing how this can open up the conversation, especially for people who are not touchy-feely, who don't talk about feelings easily. If you ask them, what did you do today? Then they can do a run through of what actually happened, and then that might lead into some more in-depth stuff. Another question is, what's your usual routine? Or what do you get up to each day? So what do you get up to each day? And then that, again, similar to the previous question, leads into more in-depth conversation. You might figure out that, you know, an older person, if you ask them, oh, what have you been getting up to? Or what's your usual routine? They might actually open up that actually they've just been watching TV or listening to a radio broadcast, and you're the first person who's contacted them in that whole day or in that whole week. And that way you can figure out where people are actually at. Another good question is, what are your biggest concerns right now? Or what are you worried about? What are your biggest worries right now? So this is important for figuring out, whether someone is struggling a bit with anxiety. And this is good for to ask kids as well. You know, what are you worried about right now? Not, are you worried? Because they'll probably just say no. But what are the things that you're worried about at the moment? Just tell me. I want to know. Another question. This is only for the brave. What can I do to help you? This one actually requires that, you know, don't ask it unless you're willing to actually do something when they tell you. But this is brilliant. That really cuts to the chase. It's not saying, let me know if there's anything I can do to help you. There's a big difference between that and actually saying, what can I do? Because that nails it down. And of course, other things to think of would be actually physically closing your mouth for longer than what you normally would. So I tried doing this yesterday and intentionally while I was listening to someone on the phone, and it was more difficult than what I thought it would be. I mean, I considered myself to be a fairly good listener, but it made me realize, actually, I don't think I'm as good as what I thought. And yeah, actually forcing myself to wait, I'll close my mouth while I'm waiting for them to completely finish what they're saying. Even if sometimes I feel like I'm getting excited about what they're saying and I want to just butt in, but if you just hold back a little, I think it's amazing how much more you get to know people, their thoughts, their feelings, what they're going through. Yeah. Avoid bringing the conversation back to your own life all the time. So if for an example, if someone says, actually, yeah, I have been feeling really tired lately, and then you're like, oh, me too, and then you start talking about your own life and why you're tired, you've just kind of discounted or downplayed what they've said. So rather than doing that, if someone says something like they've been feeling tired or opens up a little bit, ask them another question. Instead of bringing it back to you, you know, you could ask them, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Is there anything I can do to help you? Like, or do you know why you've been feeling tired? Like, is there anything that you could do to reduce that, or can I pray for you for that? And finally, not finally, actually, my second to last point, ask Jesus if there's someone who particularly really needs a listener at this time, because some people have a lot of support around them. They might get 4 or 5 phone calls a day. Other people might get 1 call a week or something. So, and within your family, if you have kids, there'll be some of the kids who are feeling okay about stuff. Other kids will be feeling highly anxious and will actually need a listening ear a lot more. So ask Jesus, who are the people who really particularly need a listening ear at this time? And be intentional about going after those conversations. And my last point, my really last point, my actual last point, is asking Jesus to give us his love for people. First of all, receiving it for ourselves, but then asking him to give us love for those around us, because without that, all of these questions are just an exercise in futility, because it's just using formulaic questions as an exercise without love. So ask Jesus for love. Love is always the most important thing. And I'll be interested to see where this takes you. So yeah, I'll be challenging myself to do this. Please comment and please put your experiences, please share your experiences. I'm really interested to see where this goes or what you struggle with within this, your thoughts, anything like that. Thanks. Love you guys. Bye.